welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making today is a delicious apple cranberry deep dish pie. And what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to make it right from scratch with the pie crust. We're going to be cutting up our apples and putting it all together and baking it in my cast iron frying pan. So what we'll start with first is making our crust. So what you would need is cold butter. Butter is the key to this delicious crust. So let's get started making it. Okay, so what we're going to be using is 2.5 cups of all-purpose white flour. If you want to substitute it to wheat, absolutely, go right ahead. So we put that in there. 1 teaspoonful of sea salt. Pop that in there, and we got 1/2 cup of cold butter. As you can see, I got it cubed. We're just going to toss this on in. If you got a KitchenAid, you put it in. This will all mix up fairly quick, but you know me, I'm going to be doing this by hand. So what I'm using here is just an old-fashioned masher. I'm just breaking the butter up into little shreds. And again, you can grate your butter in there and it'll make it smaller. But just to work it through, and then I'm going to do the rest by hand. So after you've mashed some of the butter in through, just stir all the flour together, the salt, and we got 1/2 cup of cold water, but we're only going to be pouring in about 1 tablespoonful at a time till we blend it together, because all we're doing is making this now into a ball. So if you were using a KitchenAid, you'll just put the water in gradually and then it will go together nice. Working it with your hands is a little bit harder, but it still comes together the same. So what I'm going to do now is use my hand and we're going to pinch it all together. Remembering that the key to a nice flaky crust is the cold water and of course the cold butter. Just going to move this aside. So working it together till it forms a ball and it all of the butter gets incorporated to the flour. So as you can see, it's starting to come together nice, and this is just pinching it all together up to 1 cup of cold water, 1/2 cup cold water, sorry, and gradually putting it in 1 tablespoonful at a time, and 1/2 cup of cold butter, and your 2.5 cups of flour, and your sea salt. So once you got this done, formed like this, we're going to put it in the fridge. We're going to get this even more cold and we'll get working on our apples and cranberries. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to get peeling our apples. I got Macintosh apples. You could use whatever is in season, because apple pie, no matter what, you got your favorites, so whatever one you decide to use. We got 1 cup of cranberries, fresh or frozen, it doesn't matter. A deep pan, so I'm using my dad's cast iron pan because this is good for everything. I'm going to tell you the seasonings as we go, and we got a few cranberries to the side to put some sugar on them for the garnish after our apple pie comes out of the oven, or apple cranberry pie I should say. So I'm going to get peeling our apples. Get started on that. So make sure your apples are washed good first to get any of the dirt off them if you freshly picked them off your apple tree, or if you just bought them in the grocery store. And then peel the skin off. As you can see, very thinly take the skin off. If it's a little bit left on, that's fine, because that just puts some color and flavor. And then we're going to be cutting it in wedges like this, popping it into the bowl. So pretty much that's all I'm doing here now, and I'm going to continue doing that until my apples are done, and then I'll show you what's next. So this is the last apple. Now if you want to use more, I'm just using 5 and a cup and a little bit of the cranberries, but like I said, if you want to just pack that pie in with, you know, 6 or more apples, that is quite okay. But I'm at the last one here now, so I'm going to cut this one, and then I'm going to show you what's next. Okay, so that's easy breezy, and like I said, you might have an apple peeler or another method, but I'm all about cutting with the knife, and everything is pretty much old-fashioned. I'm getting about a half a tablespoonful to a teaspoonful to half a teaspoonful to a full teaspoonful of lemon juice. So I'll get it out after a while. So put the wedge up so the seed don't go in there, and just pour it on over your apples, and this will stop them from getting brown until we get everything done with them. So that's about all you need there, and then we're just going to toss this together just to get all of the lemon blended through that apple. Now this comes the fun part where we get to put everything in together. So that's our 5 apples wedged and with a little bit of lemon over the top. We're going to be putting in our cup and a little bit of cranberries. You can do fresh cranberries or frozen, it doesn't matter, whatever is in season. We're going to be using 1/3 of a cup of white sugar. We're going to be using 1/4 of a teaspoonful of cloves. Now when it comes to spices, it's all what you like. It's all your palate. So if some of these that I'm putting in there that you don't like, you can surely substitute. This is 2 tablespoonfuls of flour, and if you can't use flour, you can use the flour that you would like to use. We're going to be using half a teaspoonful of ginger, and that's great ground ginger, half a teaspoonful of ground nutmeg, and half a teaspoonful of cinnamon. I hope you're getting excited to make this apple cranberry deep dish pie, because like you said, this is so delicious. I was telling you at the beginning, and when you see this baked and all put together, you're just going to want to go out and get yourself some ingredients to make it. So that's all you need to do, is to toss that together. So what we're going to do now is get our pie crust dough and roll it out. So what we're going to do now is to roll out our dough, and I'm going to lightly flour my surface first with some flour, and I want to cut the dough in half because it's going to be one for the top and then a piece for the bottom. So we just put that one to the side, and now we get rolling. So if you got yourself a rolling pin, if you don't, you could use a bottle, and all you need to is lightly flour your countertop, and then we're going to roll away from us and back. Then we're going to twist the dough and then roll it until we flattens it to the size of our deep dish pan, depending on the one you're using. So I'm going to flip it over, make sure there's some flour on that side. We can dust some off. We don't need a ton, but just to help it from sticking to the rolling pin and sticking to the countertop. So I'm just going to roll this out. Okay, so like I was saying, depending on the size of the pan that you're going to be using, like I'm using my dad's cast iron frying pan, so I know the depth of what I need. You may be using a different one, a nice deep regular kind of a baking pan, and you will judge that. But this is pretty much all I need. I'm going to reach for my cast iron pan, give it a little buttering because I want to grease the inside, and we'll put this one in and we'll get working on the other piece. So pretty much all I'm going to do now is take a little bit of butter, and you could use oil and just butter my cast iron pan. Now I usually keep my pan nice and oily anyway, but I want to make sure that this pie is going to be absolutely perfect. So I'm going to take my crust now, and I'm going to bring over and put it into my pie pan, which is my cast iron pan. So this is pretty much what it's going to look like when you get into your pan. I'm just going to take a little bit from it off the sides and patch up any area that has got a little bit of the black of the pan there, and that way they'll fill that in so it don't bubble in there. And what you're going to do next, you're going to poke just a few fork holes in the bottom before we put our apple and our cranberry mixture in there. But I'm going to get rolling now on the next piece of dough, show you what I'm going to do with that, and then we'll start putting this pie together. Just look how easy it is to make your own pie crust. And you know, the reward to this is you made it yourself. I mean, it didn't take a lot of work, and you can see like it's not sticking to the bottom. It's a nice texture. What I'm going to do now is put the apples and the cranberries into my pan. Okay, so I'm just going to take my apples and the cranberry mixture and pour it on into this deep pan, which is my cast iron pan, but again, you might have a deep pie pan that you could use, and that would work perfectly. So make sure it's all spread over equally like this. Just look how lovely that looks. And again, if you want to add in a different spice into this one, that's fine as well. What I'm going to do, instead of taking the full pie crust and putting over the top, I'm going to roll it into slices and put it over. I'll show you what that looks like. So after you've rolled out your dough, and you don't need it very thick, like you said, if it depends on what you need, use a pizza rolling pin and just make yourself slices like this. Starting with the longest piece, pull it up and put it in the center. So we're pretty much going to just do this first, and then we will go the opposite way. So pretty much you know where I'm going with this. We're just making sure that we got equal amount of dough on the top of the pie, and I should say crust, but it's dough until it bakes, I guess. And we're just going to go like this. I don't need a full piece for there, so I'm going to break it off, and I'm going to have to join this piece. All right, so that much is done. So I hope that you're excited to make this pie, because it's going to be as good as it looks. I'm telling you now. So what we're going to do is bring in the sides now, because we don't want it just raised out like this. We want for it to look nice. So what I'm going to do is show you what you do there. Okay, so we want all of the dough, so we're just going to bring it in, pinch it with our fingers like this. It all won't have this same fancy little edge, because we'll have an area where there won't be no edge, but you want to keep all of the dough by pushing it in like this. Now off to the side, we got 2 tablespoonfuls of milk and an egg that I'm going to be using the egg white, and we got about a tablespoonful of sugar there that we're going to use for the garnish of the cranberries and to sprinkle over the top of this pie. So after I pinch the sides like this, I'm going to show you how to put that together. So pretty much all I'm going to do, I got 2 tablespoonfuls of milk, and I just want the egg white, not the yolk, and I'll keep that one for later, and I'm just going to toss this into the milk. So pretty much all you're going to do there now is just whisk the egg yolk and the milk around until it's blended, and then we're going to take our brush and we're going to brush it over the top of the pie like this. And that's all you need to do there. Then we're going to take our regular sugar or thick grated sugar and just sprinkle over the top of the pie like this. Now this pie is ready to go in the oven. So what we're going to do now is put our delicious apple cranberry deep dish pie in the oven on a 375 degree preheated oven. for anywhere for 60 minutes or a little bit more, and you'll see the bubbling of the apple and the cranberry starting to juice up and a nice golden brown. So when that's done, well, I'm going to put it in the oven and then show you what rack to put it on. Okay, so hopefully I don't drop this. It's pretty heavy. So we're going to be putting the pie in on the middle rack at the center. Close the door. Put your timer on 60 minutes. You can also have a little peek in there to see how it's coming along. I'll meet me back here when it's baked and I'll show you what it looks like. Hi, welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. Our pie, our apple cranberry deep dish pie is baked. I'm going to reach for it now and show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm excited to get this one. Just look how delicious it looks. Oh my goodness, it smells absolutely amazing in here. I can't wait to get to this delicious pie. So what I'm going to do is let it rest for just a few minutes there, and then I'm going to cut into it, take out a nice warm piece and show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to cut into it. Now this is a serving for 8 people, and again, the longer you let it rest, the better it will be, of course, but I want to serve it warm so that I could have a nice piece with some ice cream. So it takes up to 60 minutes, depending on your oven. It could be less if yours is a fast baker. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, like I said, this is piping hot. I'm going to scoop up the piece I cut, letting it rest a little bit longer. You can keep everything in there. You can see the apple, look, and the cranberries, and they're nice and juicy. I'm going to put this in the plate, then I'm going to get some garnishes going and ice cream. Okay, look, you know what I always say, this is as good as it gets, because homemade pie, delicious. So I'm going to be putting a little bit of lemon into those cranberries that I kept there to the side, and another bit of that white sugar, because we're going to use that as a garnish for our pie. Of course, I'm going to put Raymond's piece right there because I know he's watching, and we'll put this one there. We're going to be putting a couple of the cranberries with the sugar over that one, and the same on this one, and then I'm going to have a little taste. Okay, I'm going to pour up just a little drop of tea there. I'm going to have a taste, but before I do, this just brings me in mind of when I was a little girl and my mom would make her homemade pies. And again, a lot of the times was made with crab apples, which you can get, you know, this time of the year. But, you know, when she had access to fresh apples and then freshly picked cranberries, it was so good. So this is what this reminds me of today. Now I'm going to have a little taste of the pie, a little bit of the ice cream. I'll tell you what it tastes like. The perfect amount of sweetness, not even having the ice cream, and the tartness of those sugar-coated cranberries on top. Delicious. And I know Raymond is going to get to his very shortly, and he's just watching this delicious little pan right there. But right now, I just want to say this here is as good as it gets. Apple cranberry pie, deep dish pie, and you could make it any time of the year. Apples is available all year round. In season, it's wonderful. And cranberries, you can have it fresh or frozen. So please do try this recipe. You'll be surprised. It'll be absolutely delicious. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. If you only popped in here for a few seconds, or if you watched the full video, we will provide the recipe for this delicious pie at the bottom of this video, and as well the subscribe button is there. If you haven't already subscribed, we would love for you to subscribe and watch all of our beautiful recipes, traditional, non-traditional, and viewers requests. You can also leave us a message on www.bonitaskitchen.com, our Facebook page, or right here on YouTube. I'm going to get ready to enjoy this piece of pie, and Raymond will enjoy these with some tea. But before we go, we'd like to thank each and every one of you from our kitchen to yours. You have a wonderful day.